Welcome to Weekly Quest. This week we're going to look at a question found in 1 Samuel chapter 1, but in order to get the full context, I encourage you to read chapters 1, 2, and 3. It's a story of Hannah and the birth of Samuel. Hannah was a verbally abused woman, and she also bore the disgrace of being barren, and this just weighed so heavily on her. And every year she and her husband would travel to Shiloh, which is where the priest was on duty, and they would make their annual sacrifice. The priest on duty was a man named Eli. And Eli was not the best spiritual leader for the nation of Israel. The Bible describes him as being the father of two sons who were also priests who had no regard for the Lord. They were disrespectful to God, disrespectful to the people, and dishonored the sacrifices that the people would make. And Eli pretty much gave his sons a slap on the wrist for it. And as a result, Eli's family was going to be punished for it. And unfortunately, so was the nation of Israel. So there was a time when Hannah and her husband had come to Shiloh. And the Bible says that she stood to pray. And Eli sat by the doorpost and watched and observed. And as Hannah was standing and praying, she wasn't being verbal, but her lips were moving. Eli, who sat at a distance, made a quick judgment when he saw her. And he asked this question: "How long will you keep on getting drunk?" Now, he was at a distance and he was making this judgment without coming close to her and saying, "Hey, is everything okay?" Or been drinking maybe a little bit too much. And it kind of makes me wonder how many times I've stayed at a distance and I've prejudged someone without trying to get close to them or maybe asking some inquiring questions. And so Hannah comes to her own defense, and she says, "No, I don't even drink." And when Eli realized that he had wrongly judged this, he never apologized, but he did speak a blessing that God would answer her prayer and grant her the son that she so desired. And God in his faithfulness gave her a son, Samuel. And after he was born, the time came for them to go back to Shiloh to make a sacrifice. And she said to her husband, "I'm not going to go yet. I'm going to wean the baby first. And when he's weaned, then I'll bring him and I'll present him to the Lord." Now, in those days, a baby could be weaned maybe the age of 2, the age of 4. So she held him close. And she just wanted to, I'm sure, spend time with this son that she was going to be releasing to God. And true to her promise, the time came when she traveled back to Shiloh, and she did release her son into the hands of Eli, which absolutely stuns me because he was incompetent. He was not the best spiritual leader, and she's releasing her son into his hands. And I think God would have understood if Hannah had renegotiated and said, "You know, God, I know that I said I'd turn him over to Eli, but he's not going to be the good spiritual influence on our son. And so let Elkanah and me just keep Samuel close. And we'll just speak into him and we'll help him grow in you. We'll teach him about you. We think we could be a better influence than Eli could." I mean, look at his sons and how they are. I don't think she would have been criticized for that. But she kept her word and released him. But technically, she was not releasing Samuel into Eli's hands. She was releasing Samuel into the hands of God. Because as you read the story, it says God's hand was on Samuel and he grew and he prospered spiritually because God kept his eye and his hand on that young boy who later grew to be probably the best leader in the nation of Israel. And God blessed Hannah with 5 more children, which makes me wonder if she had not released Samuel to the Lord as she had promised, if he might have been her one and only. So sometimes we might conceive and give birth to an idea or a project or a ministry, and we hold it close because we've seen it grow and we gave birth to this. We started this thing, and it's hard for us to release. But there are times when God will stir us and He'll remind us, this work is not yours. This work really is mine, and you need to release it. But we're a little hesitant because we're thinking, well, that other person, if I release it to them, they're not as knowledgeable or as skilled as I am. They're not going to appreciate this or do it the way that I think I should. But we need to remember when we release these things, we're releasing them into the hands of God. We need to know when to wean the baby. So my question for you is, what do you need to give to God in order for Him to increase your fruitfulness? Just something to think about this week. Have a good one.